Hello, my name is Wilder, and I just completed the Appalachian Trail this summer in about 108 days, going for sub 100, but got sick for about 10 days. So I'd like to think it's closer to 98 days, but it's all a wash anyways. I have a lot of thoughts about my gear. I thought since it's fresh, I just finished about 4 days ago, I thought I might share my thoughts about the gear that I had along the trail. The AT is more or less the last trail for my Triple Crown. With an asterisk, I haven't done Colorado on the CDT because there's too much snow in my year and I never got around to it. I kind of treated this trail as the end of my Triple Crown until I get back to that. I had a lot of time to think about gear and loadout, dialing in my base weight over the years. I would like to think that this is pretty much the culmination of everything I've learned. And of course, every trail is different, so there's a few gear items to be exchanged between those trails. To start with, I thought I'd just go with the pack and then work my way around the outside and eventually on the inside. That should cover everything that way. So the pack itself is a Nashville Cutaway. It's this small cottage company in Nashville, Tennessee. I had heard about them a year or two ago. It wasn't until my trail partner this year was talking them up that I looked at them and decided to pull the trigger. And I'm very glad I did. It's an excellent pack. It's almost blurring the lines between fast packing and backpacking. The thing that sets them apart is the straps that you buy separately, and they are very ergonomic. They're closer to running vest straps than anything else, and they carry really, really well. Compare that to a lot of the other minimal frameless packs in the market. And once you start getting above 15, 20 pounds, you really start feeling it in the shoulders. These carry very, very well. The capacity was more than enough for the Appalachian Trail, especially doing 25 to 30 mile days. Don't really have to worry about long carries. The longest carry I did was about 2.5 days, and that was 100-mile wilderness. So it really depends on your pace, but as long as you can hike some slightly bigger mile days in the AT, you don't have to worry about loading up on food that much. The main compartment here is all one. Normally you'd have separated side pockets and then the main front, but this is all one, and they're all tensioned down by these elastic straps right here, and that's what kind of keeps them separate. So theoretically you can reach in while you're wearing the backpack, reach in all the way and grab anything in this main mesh. So that's kind of the thought behind that. I didn't really use that a whole lot, but that's an option. Fabric itself, I'd have to double check on what fabric it is. It's not DCF, it's not grid stop. It might be, I think it's Ultra Weave, and it was very, very water resistant. Unless it was a torrential downpour, I didn't really notice a whole lot of water getting inside the main compartment. That being said, I was pretty careful about keeping the pack dry with the umbrella, my poncho, which I'll get to, because I did use my pack as part of my sleep system. So I wanted to keep that dry. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the straps here real quick. So a lot of storage on these guys. They have pocket up here closer to your shoulder, and I use both of those. Then they have this middle one, which I use for my phone right here, and right here I just use for various things like a buff or electrolytes, whatever I needed to get in. I also carried a Ziploc bag as well, just in case it was raining and I wanted to throw my phone in there and not worry about that. Then I always kept my water bottle, 750 milliliter right here for quick access. Gotta stay hydrated. So having it in my peripherals all day was really good, just to always have it on my mind. And then this pocket, I kept a lot of various small items that I would use throughout the day. This being a small stick of deodorant that I used as anti-chafe, and it worked all right. And then I had some DEET spray when it got really bad. Maybe only had to use that 5 times. And then some stick sun spray. This was after I got back on the trail and I was on doxycycline, which makes you a lot more vulnerable to sunburning. So this was a later addition. Also, once you get above tree line in New Hampshire, it's nice to have a little more sun protection. Then this is a Nightcore tip thumb, I think. It's pretty old. I don't know if a lot of people use these anymore, but I like it. I didn't really do a lot of night hiking, so this is more for just at night in my tent when I wanted to look around. It also has a clip for my hat for those few times that I did set up my tent in the dark. That's nice. But yeah, it started tweaking out at the end. It became pretty unreliable, but not a big deal. And then I kept this little dropper bottle for hand sanitizer, some Joshua Tree chapstick, really good stuff. So just these items that I might use once or twice throughout the day, if not every other day. It's really nice to have that right there. I also, on the left shoulder strap pocket, this is a little unconventional, but I bought a lot of aqua tabs, crushed them up into dust, and put them in this hand sanitizer bottle. So I would dose just a little bit of this aqua tabs dust in my water, and that was my purification system. But it really felt like I was doing a cocaine operation while setting that up. And then I went with something new. I almost always do wired headphones while through hiking, but I decided to go with these bone conductive wireless Bluetooth ones. I love the idea of being able to hear while hiking, and it was very nice to have. I could come up on hikers and pass them and have a little bit of chit chat while listening to podcasts or music. Still a little bit tough with both going on, but it was possible. Also, I was able to hear wildlife. So it was just nice to have a little bit more maintenance to keep charged. But really, the impetus behind getting these was my Android kept getting this hydration sensor triggered even when it wasn't wet in the port, so I couldn't use my wired headphones, and that was really annoying. So the Bluetooth was a way around that. I got these off Amazon for like 25 bucks, and it lasted 80% of the trail. I think that's it for the shoulder straps. Let's spin it around and start here with the biggest eyesores. So the trekking pole that I brought with me, I don't hike with trekking poles unless very seldom on some downhills if my knee's giving me problems. I use the Z-Packs trekking pole, and this actually isn't the one I hiked with. The one I hiked with is in a garbage can in A-Ball Bridge after the 100-mile wilderness. It fell apart very early on, and I had to jury-rig it. And halfway through, another part broke, and the handle was falling off. It doesn't seem like great craftsmanship. I would not recommend this pole to anybody. I had to carry it for my tent. It was my main pitch, the front pitch. This is a 6 Moon Designs Rainwalker, ultralight. It's like 5 ounces. It's phenomenal. I cannot speak highly enough about using an umbrella on the AT, especially in the summer season. Not shoulder seasons, you probably do that, but when it gets warmer, the umbrella is so nice to have for those drizzles, which is very common on the AT. You just throw it up, keeps you dry, and also you don't wet out a rain jacket on those climbs. You just get to carry this and have your own little dry safe haven. It's quite nice. And the bonus is it was also the perfect height for my rear pitch for my tent as well. We'll get to my tent in a second. I'll show you a picture right now of what it looked like when I used the umbrella for that rear pitch. It just happened to work out great. I grabbed this at one of the first hostels on the AT, and I'm an umbrella convert. I tried it on the CDT, but it just didn't work for me. I don't think I really like it enough for sun protection, but for rain on the AT, it worked out really well. Moving on to the front pouch here, I have my Diddy bag. A small bag for earplugs. Highly recommend earplugs in the AT. People everywhere. You don't know who you're going to be camping by. You might have snorers, you might have chit chatters, whatever it might be. Tenacious tape, med bag. I didn't really use any ibuprofen or anything until I got sick in Hanover. Started going on antibiotics, and those 10 days off trail really made my body soft. So I started popping more pills, especially when I got into the whites. That was just the reality. I really don't like using them. But I also had a little bit of antibiotic ointment, a couple of Imodium pills. Other than that, that's all I really took. Some hair ties, which I used to need. As of yesterday, I don't anymore. Some Leuco tape on the backing of window flashing, like the backing for that. That's the best way to store smaller portions of Leuco tape. I used it quite a bit at the beginning, and then stopped using it pretty much totally as my feet got tougher, got calluses. A little mini Bic lighter. Always good to have one of those. Dental floss, needle, and titanium Westcott scissors. Always carry those. Great for popping blisters. A little bit of Cuban DCF tape for my tent. Never really used it though. My tent held together great. Then I have my electronics. The power bank was the Anker 10,000 milliamps. It's their newest one. It's the lightest version. I could get maybe 2 full charges on my phone with this, but I never really needed it because you're in town so often. You're almost always near a power source. It was more than enough. This is a longer than I'd like cable. It's a USB-C to USB-C. That would charge my power bank and also charge my phone from the power bank and from the wall. This was the Garmin charging cable from my Instinct that I use to track every day on my hike. It was a real big pain because I think my watch was on the fritz as far as the port, so it wouldn't always charge correctly. I still don't know if it was worth it. And I picked this up about halfway through. It's a charging block. It's a USB-C and just a regular USB. So those two, pretty light, charge just fine. And then lastly is this little guy. It's an adapter USB-C to micro USB, I think. And that was just whenever I needed to charge my headlamp, which I maybe did once the whole summer. So, but it's this small, so I could justify it. I also carried another water bottle as well. So this was my carrying capacity for the whole trail. I almost never used both during the day. I could almost always get by just using one because there's so much water in the AT, except for maybe just a few points in the mid-Atlantic. But one of these was more than enough. I would just scoop up. Whenever I was about halfway done, I would just chug it at the next water source, scoop up, treat it or not treat it. It's coming out of the ground. It was great. I would carry two mainly for at night because I like to have more than enough at night. This was a wind jacket I picked up early on before the Smokies, and I'm glad I did for the first 2 weeks because it was still a little bit cold. It was late April, it was early May. We got snow in the Smokies. And it is a North Face. It's their Summit series. I guess it's just a North Face wind jacket, but it's pretty light. It's like 5 ounces. I didn't end up using it for probably 80% of the trail. The very beginning and the very end is really the only times I used it, in the whites and in the Smokies, pretty much. But still nice to have, I guess. I didn't use it as much as I wish I needed to. And then towards the end, probably in Vermont, I started carrying a garbage bag that I cut out a hole for the head and the arms, and it acted as a poncho for my backpack. Keep my backpack wet, keep my clothes dry, and my morale high. You know, pair that with umbrella when it got really bad. Super cheap, pretty light, and the weather was bad enough towards the end. Everybody that hikes to 23 knows just how bad the rain was in July. So this was nice to have just to kind of keep my sanity a little bit. And I also have horse steaks. All I needed was 4 steaks for my tent. And they're just MSR mini ground hogs. So carried those the whole way. Lost 1 or 2 here and there. They're great steaks. They worked well. Staking on the AT is generally pretty easy. This is my Deuce of Spades trowel. I probably wouldn't carry a trowel if this isn't like the only piece of gear that I've carried for all 3 trails. So it's a little more sentimental because I would probably just find a rock and dig a hole that way. Still nice to have. Toothbrush, toothpaste. That's it for the outside of my pack. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this stuff out and then start getting inside to the meat. Okay, we've got a clean desk. Let's see what's inside. So the tent is a Tarp Tent Pro Trail Lithium. It is an A-frame style, fully enclosed tent with a really nice reinforced bathtub floor. I really liked it. It was a great length. I didn't have the tapering ends on my head and the feet that I had in the Hexamid tent. Still a good tent, but I prefer this one much more. Very simple design. Takes a little bit of work dialing in the pitch, but once you start to get the hang of it, it clicks. But there's always room for improvement for non-freestanding tents when it comes to pitches. So I kind of treat it as a game. And then I used an OpSack. I did bear hanging for the first part, but the OpSack really did the work. And again, didn't really need to carry a whole lot of food. So this was more than enough. Highly recommend the OpSack. This is not the name brand one. It's one off of Amazon. Can't remember why I got that one, but it worked just fine. The rest of the items are inside my Nylafilm pack liner, all the things that I wanted to be more intentional about keeping dry. So I wore for my insulation layer the lightest version of the Alpha Direct. This is Senshi Designs, and it was very comfy. I used it for oftentimes my pillow or for my knees at night. For colder mornings, it'd be great. But again, the middle part of the trail really didn't need it. It was more of just a dry layer in case everything else got wet. But I do really like these. They're great for high output while not overheating. So I highly recommend it for that. And they're just cozy. And I have a really light pair of Darn Tough socks. They're not the classic 1/4-inch micro crew. They're just, I treated them more as sleep socks, or my last day on a stretch into town, I would wear them if my other socks were dry. And the socks that I normally use during the day were Injinji sucks. And I am a huge Injinji advocate, especially for anybody that gets blisters on their toes or in between their toes. It's phenomenal. Here we have an Enlightened Equipment Enigma, and I think it's a 10 degree. Most people won't need a 10 degree for the AT unless you're starting in February. I started in late April, but I sleep so cold, I just wanted to play it safe. Worked a couple extra ounces, and it kept me plenty warm. It is hard to keep your bag clean and dry on the AT, so just put a little more thought into that. Oftentimes you'll get into town, you'll just need to dry it out, hang it up, throw it in the dryer on low heat with some tennis balls, whatever you need to keep it lofty and not too gross. And last is my pad. It is a Z-Lite, as many of you are very familiar with, but it's just a torso length. And I also cut down the width as well. I know that's kind of gram-weenie of me to do that, but really, this is all I needed. It also acted as a frame for my pack, and it covered all that I needed to on the ground, and was quite comfy. I like feeling connected to the ground. The air pads, given those tries, they're great. It's very preferential. This is more than enough for me. I had a tip pad. It was like one panel of this. Got ripped out on the Mahusik notch. Lost that, but yeah. Well, that's the gear that I used and what I thought about each item. Again, this is a very preferential thing, but if you're looking to go fast and light, you may find some of this helpful. Even if you're not, there may be some things that you didn't know about this gear and how it relates to the Appalachian Trail. It's a very difficult trail, and I do think that if you are not somebody who needs a lot of creature comforts, it's much better to prioritize going light and keep the weight off your back, because it's a rugged trail, ups and downs all day long, and anything to keep that weight minimal and you into town whenever you can to get what you need, I think is the best way to do it. The alternative is the whole pendulum swing to the other side, and that's to really take all the creature comforts and take your time, take 5-7 days between towns, soak it up, don't worry about big mileage, do 10 miles a day, whatever you want, and just soak it in. But I really think that those two extremes are the two ways to do the Appalachian Trail, and obviously my way is not the social way. I missed out on that a lot. I might do a video later to reflect on my 100-day hike, but it was a very different hike than the other two because of that. I know I missed out on the best part of the AT, which is the people. Still made some friends, but didn't quite get to soak up the trail families like I think a lot of other people did. So I think I would still do it this way, but I have a lot of thoughts on that. Thanks for watching, and I will try to do another video soon on the strategy of doing a 100-day or sub-100-day Appalachian Trail hike. I know Jupiter has a great video on that I actually used, but I have my own experience that I had and would love to add to that conversation around doing the Appalachian Trail a little bit faster, because I know a lot of people that are doing it for the Triple Crown are really kind of looking to optimize their hiking for that trail. So stay tuned for that. Thanks.